begin.
Let's start. Okay, roll call. Well, Matt's here. Mike Borley.
Here.
Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson's gone. Do you have any idea, Wendy?
Brian is supposed to be attending.
Okay. Chad Van Handel.
Here.
And Jim Blumrink.
I'm here.
Good. Well, we'll get rolling. We've got 4 either way. Need a motion to approve the agenda for the August 29th, today's meeting of the Community Development Block Grant Revolving Loan Committee.
So moved. Second.
We've got a motion by Jim and a second by Mike. And approval of the minutes from the August 15th.
Need the vote.
Oh, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have it. Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, we're going to go on to the next one then. Approval of the minutes from the August 15th Community Development Block Grant Revolving Loan Committee meeting. The motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Jim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're good.
Okay, got that done. Let's go into the regular business then. Our first item on the agenda is reviewing the loan application for Mason Real Estate LLC, doing business as tenant. So I think, Wendy, you'll probably open us up
I
here.
will get you started this morning. Good morning, and thank you all for coming in today. We have, this will be a dual proprietorship. This is so there'll be Jason and his wife, and then it'll be Joseph Schmidt and his wife Rachel are going to be part of that, and we'll explain their roles and what they're all going to be doing in this business. But as you know, farm-to-table restaurants are real popular in the communities right now, but Mason Real Estate LLC is requesting $250,000 to be used towards the purchase of restaurant equipment for the new farm-to-table restaurant located in the old Buster's Bar Building, which is at 2475 West Mason Street, and they're going to be operating under the name Tenant. Tenant is a locally sourced farm-to-table restaurant. It will include a small retail store that will sell locally produced food items that patrons may purchase and prepare at home. The restaurant and marketplace will serve and sell in-state, local, organic products in an area of the city that's underrepresented by this concept. Tenant also plans to provide education to patrons about locally sourced fresh food seasonally, in addition to enjoying the executive chef prepared selections. The business owners have purchased the property at 2475 West Mason, which needed many updates, including a new commercial kitchen, which is where the CDRLF funds will be spent. Jason and Lisa have a commitment from Bank of Luxembourg and have, I think it's a different bank, I'll have to just verify
Denmark.
that, and have maximized their personal investment. Good morning. Good morning. And are seeking CDRLFs for gap financing to complete this project. And then the recommendations of the staff are to grant that. We have all of the paperwork, including the financials, commitment, business plan, projections, estimates for the restaurant equipment, and the application and quotes are all in your packet. So with that, it is the Bank of Denmark. I apologize for the,
Okay.
they started out with one bank and then ended up.
Yeah, and I think it was Denmark State Bank's letter that was in the
You're
packet
right,
that
yeah.
was out.
I did not update my
Commitment.
paperwork to you, so please make that correction for me. All right, if you have any other questions for me, I can otherwise resume.
I would suggest we open up the floor, so the folks doing the business can tell us about the business.
Motion to suspend the rules. Second.
Motion by Mike and second by Jim to open up the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Go ahead, if someone could, I don't know who's who amongst the folks on the business plan.
Everyone introduce themselves and come on up to the podium and you can speak, so if you, come on up.
Yeah, and kind of tell us about, right, hey, what are you trying to do, you know, with the business? What does the building need, would be great to know. Somebody's got experience in the restaurant business, I know from reading through the packet, so we'd love to know more about that. And then I think get us into a little bit about your projections on the business and where those came from and why you think the revenue's going to do as projected, so.
All right, absolutely. Well, when we started this venture...
You are?
Sorry. My name is Joseph Schmidt. I will be a partner in the business itself. I will also be, my role will be executive chef. I've been in the culinary industry since I was probably about 15 years old. I started washing dishes at Eve's Supper Club here in Green Bay when I was a kid. Went to culinary school in Colorado. Went from Colorado out to the San Francisco Bay Area, where I cooked in farm-to-table-esque restaurants out there. And then I came back here to Green Bay to further the thought and idea for this community, and hopefully it's a good undertaking for the community. Our thoughts here are to show what this area can produce, help support local farmers, and really bring a culinary experience to the area, especially in the area that we've obtained this property. So where the property is located, like was stated previous, is over on West Mason, where it is kind of a food oasis. There is not a lot going on there. So if we can provide for that area, that community, and the greater community, that's kind of what we were shooting for. The idea with, really building the community and all of the food and everything that's available into one location, I've tried to help other places in the area do so where I feel like that thought has kind of fallen short. So with that being said, we really are shooting for the whole local, sustainable, organic movement that is brushing across the country, but really bring it to this community. As for the building itself, Jason will be able to speak a little bit more on that, just for the overall needs. I've seen the process, but the lingo is not my forte. That is a little unbeknownst to me. But for equipment and everything else that we are requesting funds for would be our new walk-in coolers, new actual restaurant equipment, so ranges and grills, fryers, stainless steel tables,
We
mixers.
do have a list that's been submitted, so if you want to just, I don't know if you need a written list.
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay. And so with all of this equipment, we'll be able to produce all of our food locally in the restaurant. And so no outsourcing all of these other things, but actually being able to produce all of the food for the restaurant within the restaurant.
Jason, do you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, to the
When you're
food
all set,
aspect, do you have
yeah.
anything additional?
Sorry, my,
Don't worry.
all over the board right now, but, I mean, as for the food, we want to make it obtainable for the community itself. We don't want to price ourselves out of the market in any way, shape, or form. We want to have community involvement in that aspect. The projections on the numbers speak as so, and the original numbers that were ran were as the restaurant was full going for the most part. When the restaurant is, I think year 3 projections are the restaurant full go 7 days a week, just absolutely nonstop business. And so that is the full potential of what the restaurant can offer. So hopefully,
Speaking to year 3.
yes, speaking to year 3. Year 1 was toned back a little bit, and the financials do project for overstaffing so that we can make sure that the business does run on full cylinders, so that we're not lagging or we're missing or disappointing anyone in the process.
Have you guys designed a menu already?
We have a couple of different menu layouts, yes, but moving with the seasons and continually changing the menu, the menus are not set in place, so it has the potential of changing weekly or removing and adding items daily.
Traditional model of a restaurant is ordering off the Cisco truck and how many tenderloins do you need for the week or whatever. In the case of this type of restaurant, it's what's available right now and how can we build around that. And Chef can speak to that, but in theory, there will be a couple of things that would be season long, meaning we could hit it for 6 to 12 weeks in some regards. A lot of
Absolutely.
things stick around for a long time, but there might be a couple of items on the menu that, hey, just because you're here today, this is what's the opportunity today, and it won't be around tomorrow. And part of that is a draw. In terms of a customer base, opportunities are definitely what could bring people in. So.
So on
And the
that,
celebration of what's available, yeah.
On
Sir.
that note, where did you get your numbers? I have a lot of concerns.
Okay.
You think that you're gonna open the doors, come out of the box running and do $2 million in sales your first year?
I'd be happy to explain how we did projection and assumptions. My name is Jason.
Yep.
And would you like to, so to answer your question directly with numbers, or do you want some history on the property? So,
Well, you can,
We
you
full
can
circle
start
or-
with,
okay.
you can start at the beginning.
well, yeah. Just so we can stay on track, I'll answer your sales projection and the assumptions. So we are going to be 150-plus seats in the renovated property. And the assumptions year one is if lunch prices are what they are, dinner is what we're expecting, but it's the number of covers and how many times a meal is served. So we made the assumption that at the light end, year one, if we just served half of our seats for lunch and just half of our seats, or excuse our full seats for dinner, meaning a couple that sit down and consume the seats, we are projecting what is showing up as legitimate. And the comparative, literally down the street for a lunch, a cousin's sub is $12 plus a chip and a drink. So to ask $20 for a locally done something for a decent sandwich and whatever isn't out of line, realistically. And the way we allocated staff, speaking to Joe's comment, is we took all of year three numbers in terms of how we needed to serve, took all of that staffing and carried it to year one. And so, meaning we aren't going to be hopefully disappointing on the service level. So realistically, and this may not speak positively, the projection is actually light because we overstaffed and overpurchased food and all of those types of things for those projections.
My comments are based on the research that I did.
Yeah.
And you, Joe stated an oasis. There's a number of eating places surrounding you. Granted, none are farm to table, but established businesses on the east side of Green Bay, and that really was a startup, was an oasis that's been there for a number of years and is double the size in covers
Excuse me, did you say east?
on the east side of Green Bay.
Okay, all right.
Is double the size in seating,
Yeah.
your covers. And this is not year 1, 2, 3, or 4. This has been around for a number of years. That was about 3.2.
Uh-huh.
I thought I'm an optimistic guy. I think you guys blew my optimism way out of the water.
Yeah.
Because my concern is to give you $250,000
Yes, sir.
and you don't make it, we haven't done anybody a positive service,
Okay.
you know. So do you spend the money or, trust that, can you do this with less, or you've got a big pile of cash somewhere? Because I didn't see any working capital in this projection at all.
Yeah.
That's gonna carry you through if you don't hit those numbers or even get to half of those numbers. 1 million, 1, 2, maybe.
Okay. Let's speak to the number of restaurants in that area. So going down the road towards NWTC, you've got a Gallagher's, there's the Cousins, there's the McDonald's, the Hardee's, the whatever. Across the street, it's Fast Fazoli's, and then Schlotzsky's. Adjacent to us, El Azteca, a long-standard family-owned Los Banditos, certainly, and he's welcoming us to the neighborhood, open arms, and they're excited. The previous Fuzzies, now Scoreboard. Matt is hugging, he's like, this is exactly what we need in the area. And the other restaurateurs and bar owners in that area are like, man, are you filling a void? More to the point, all of the residential behind us, supporting that high school there, we're talking, I don't even know the population right there, but those neighbors are literally walking by on a daily basis now that there is some activity on the site again. They're all excited, like, what's going on here? We're excited for another opportunity for a place to eat. If you need to reach out beyond that 4 or 5 block radius, you have to get down one exit to the Lambeau district, or you need to head way past what would be the military vicinity, and there you start to get into the Culvers and whatever else. In our perspective, it really is an oasis at the desert for restaurants for a sit-down opportunity.
Did you say you had some numbers from Buster's?
Buster's, when John and Bob closed, and arguably they were at like 40-60, meaning primarily, beer or liquor, they were at approximately 300 and some odd thousand. And
So not a-
I think if John were sitting here, and I actually spoke to him yesterday because he was shutting down some of his accounts and things like that, he would tell you that they weren't doing anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they, on their 14 beer tap system, he had 3 beers.
Mhm.
They were essentially on cruise control.
And I know it's more
Yeah.
like greasy spoons.
Yeah, right, yes,
Complete ends
exactly.
of the spectrum.
And they were, it was straight from, and no disrespect to them, it was just straight from the freezer to the fryer, and you got what you got, and they still did a lot for the fish fry, so in all due respect. But they knew that Buster's had its run, and both of them were very tired, and Bob is still going on the other side of town, to my knowledge. But can I speak to the property then real quickly?
Let me just, was there any, do you know what the max revenue they were ever doing? Did you ever?
No,
get that
honestly,
far?
I don't, but it's not the same model.
No, I
Yeah,
understand that,
right.
just to see what that could support, that building could support, but.
Yeah, John actually, so he actually called because he had stopped in the end of last week, and he just was excited to see things happening, and the opportunity was there because people have been asking him, what's going on and things like that. But speaking to the property very quickly, 60 seconds on it. So I'm not a Green Bay long-term resident, wasn't born and raised. I was on the other side of Wisconsin, but since we've acquired the property, I've met not dozens, but hundreds of people who have a history there. So in 1978, it was established as the Blarney Stone. So that was a pretty long run, and everybody who knew anybody was always there. And it was a hopping place, and I know that there was, quote unquote, a questionable establishment in terms of operations and how they dealt with community in that regard. Switched over to Sharky's, they tried, and then Buster's another 20-year run. So, it's a 40-plus year history. 2 establishments, had 2 decades worth of good business. And I would like to see this building revitalized. Deliriers is doing our construction. It's a really, really strong steel building, full span, with, think about a quarter of it of basement, poured foundation, really well done. And the property itself, when compared to the others up and down the street, is about twice to 250% the size, because it's wider, and more to the point, it has an adjacent L to it. So it's a substantial piece of real estate in that regard, in a very busy area. Everything is ready for full remodeling and revisions. There isn't much that is missing from our remodel plans. So.
And is the kitchen that's there today
Yes.
just too small, or is there not much kitchen there?
It is a sufficiently sized kitchen for the operations that were there. It suited Buster's quite well. We are literally increasing the size of the kitchen by 100%. So for the type of operation that we're doing, that isn't necessarily excessive, but appropriately sized because of the type of cooking that we'll be doing. So as chef was saying, when we're not ordering off of the Cisco truck, we're doing a lot more preparations ourselves. The dry storage and the larder, if anybody remembers that term, will be a lot smaller, and the cooler is oversized purposely because it'll be a lot more preserved and held over in terms of fresh and so forth. That is the only addition being done to the building. The rest of the footprint remains. It's just being reorganized on the interior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any seasonality projected for the revenues? Do you see any particular season being heavier?
We're actually playing to that, dealing with the renovations. So phase one does not include any exterior seating, but the site plan does include it in the renovation remodel. We are accounting for that. So the seasonality of food, I don't believe there will be an influx of traffic, but just Wisconsin season in general, I believe there to be. Now opening towards the end of the year, where we aren't going to go out and sit with our gloves on and have a beer. We aren't including the exterior seating with the phase one remodeling. That is an account for next year, assuming all works well. That being said, I think that will help help keep sales fairly consistent because people are yearning for that outdoor seating environment. And the lot really plays well to that because it's a quiet area towards the back. I think there's a great opportunity for people to have a nice quiet meal back there on a very busy road. Yeah.
And what were you planning for working capital for the business?
We're both bringing in a substantial amount for startup and so forth. In terms of beyond the 6 to 8 month range, we would, I will be honest, we're assuming that we're cash flowing for at least operations at that point.
So the startup working capital is 100,000, 500,000?
75 each.
It's 150,000.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
And I don't want to,
And that's just because it's equal. My wife and I can make up a difference at that point.
so are you going to be day-to-day operations of this facility, or what is your background?
Yeah.
Where obviously we have a chef.
Yeah.
Because we look at it,
This is a partnership. The
200,000.
operations are a partnership, so Tenet LLC is a 50/50, Chef Joe and myself. The real estate, Mason Realty, is a husband and wife LLC, Lisa, my spouse. And so we own the property and then the operations will lease from us. My background is actually fairly diverse, everything from education and now farming. But my wife and I have been, quote unquote, tilling the earth for all of our life, raising food. And my role in this will both be the aggregation and the liaison of farmers and bringing food to the table literally, but also assisting in management, and I'm particularly good at numbers. So I will be assisting in the accounting and so forth, and the people
Okay,
management.
so you're not, of the two general managers and assistant managers, a couple $100,000 in payroll there, neither one of you are in that operational cost. The reason I ask that is, as you start breaking it down, like for instance, your lunch labor costs per shift is about 26.9% you have listed here, but dinner is only 8.5%. So how do you double your seating, but your labor costs per shift drop to a third?
Also cost of cover. And so our projected average cover cost increases also. And so not only are we doubling the seating for a PM projection, but we are also going, I do believe it was about
50 per two.
Yeah. And so with the increased cost of dining at dinner, with the increased amount of seats projected, that's where we come up with that bigger number. And that's how the staffing kind of offsets from your lunch staffing with the lower income coming in through the door to your dinner seating with the higher income, and then almost same amount of labor going into it. And the AM labor is there mostly for preparation and to make sure that we're keeping all wheels greased and we're still a go facility.
Speaking to that, so as a reminder or a refresher, I took year 3's staffing numbers and food numbers and placed them in year 1, but only left year 1 income. So, and then if you look at the very last page, we're still green with those numbers. Barely, granted, but just wanting to make sure all bases are covered. So if we were to staff appropriately and only order the food that is appropriately sold in year 1, that percentage would be significantly different. I wanted to take absolute worst case scenario and say, is this still floating or is it not floating?
And if it doesn't float, are you guys prepared to take that hit? I'm the total devil's advocate here. I love the concept, I
Yeah.
agree with that. I watch Foodie Channel all the time.
Yeah,
You know, out of Madison, I wanna go to those farm-to-table things.
yeah,
Point being is that I also want you to succeed.
yeah,
And we don't wanna, you know, we have to be the fiduciaries of the taxpayer dollars here.
yeah,
Understandably, we're a gap financer.
yeah,
Because everybody else isn't gonna give you any more money.
yeah.
And if you don't make it on those projections, what happens?
No, and that's fair, absolutely. And any person standing here or any person opening their doors for business, it's all rainbows and butterflies, absolutely. And we're excited and we're optimistic. But at the end of the day, I don't get behind anything that I know won't go. And I have 100% energy into this. This model is lacking here. It does not exist, though it is touted and sold and marketed that way. And I know this because as a food, I raise food, I grow food, and I was a supplier to these places that say they've got, you know, farms on the menu. They don't, because they bring you in, which I've done. They put you on the menu and they advertise it, and then because it's seasonal and it's inconvenient, they no longer purchase your food, order it off of the Cisco or the Reinhardt truck, and now they're when seasonally available. This model is not that. It is rotating, it is, and I've aggregated as many as 40 other regional farms to supply to this. So it's not just Sandy Brook Farm. I've literally made relationships over the course of my farming career, and I've reached out to them, and we're bringing food in from as far as, you know, Marinette area, and as far south as, well, really Milwaukee and then Chilton for Moyer Farm. So everything from, well, everything except coffee, citrus, and chocolate that we don't grow here. But literally the grain for our breads are being produced at Moyer Farm in Chilton.
Okay.
So,
As far as walking
Yeah.
away, so
Yeah.
I'm Lisa Campbell.
Hi, Lisa.
I'm Jason's wife, and this is Rachel Schmidt, Joe's wife. Rachel has a background in the restaurant business as well. She can speak to that. I'm a physician in the area. I'm not walking away from the program. Could I come up with the funds to do this on my
Yeah.
own? Yes, but that's not the point. We want it funded well up front. And I think that Green Bay would like to stand behind a well-funded restaurant, a well-funded, entrepreneurial thing. So could this happen other ways? Probably. Do I want to see Green Bay get behind and support this? Yes. Can I financially support it, in some independent manner? Yes, I could do that. I don't want to. Because I want to see farm to table succeed in the area, which means the community needs to buy into it. At the end of the day, are we willing to walk away? I guess. I think the four of us really want to see this happen. Joe wants to do farm to table. Rachel wants to do farm to table. Lisa wants to do farm to table. Jason wants to do farm to table. We're going to put everything we can into this. So there is operating capital that can back this up, that can back up your $250,000 loan, should that become necessary. So it's backed well. You've got four, we're not young, we're not youngsters here. You've got four very capable adults working together to make this happen.
we bought the building outright. I mean, we own it. So the funds are there, sir. I just, rather than put more cash into it and then be at zero for operating, we're asking for some equipment coverage so that we have the backup to take care of this over the course of the warm-up period. That's the realistic answer.
So in essence, you purchased the building, and you basically bought the building, and now you're refinancing.
I would argue
it
we
out of
bought the
equity.
land and
The
we got a
land,
building
but-
for free.
Pretty much. So, you're financing the equity that you had in the building to put this project together, so to speak.
So to speak, yeah.
Well, yeah, but above and beyond the funds for the remodel, we're still coming up with capital to go above and beyond that because, if Steve were here in Denmark, there is a limit to what banks, and maybe Eugene can speak to this, there is a limit to what banks want to offer for restaurants. Yes, they're risky, and which is why you're asking questions. But this model in this area, it's not hit. Nobody's doing it.
Historically, this committee has just not had a great experience in the food arena.
And neither have banks.
As well as just the fact that you guys know it's the tough, I mean, you're gonna be working 100 hours a week.
Oh,
You know, if you're executive chef, you're gonna be standing there looking at every plate that goes out that kitchen door to make sure it's exactly. I just can't believe your sales projections, but good luck. I just have a concern
Yeah.
that, you know, that.
Is it?
that
Well,
you
you've got a break even of 1.6, so it's,
Yeah.
you know, even if it isn't the 1.8, we've still got some room
Yeah.
where,
Yeah.
you don't need to make the profit. The lease and rent is somewhat related, so
Yep.
there's probably, you know, at a worst case scenario, some flexibility in that. It's 12,000 a month, I think, is what's in there.
Yeah.
So-
And that's all in, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
Right. But it's also a unique situation where the tenant, not tenant is the owner.
Mhm.
So there is some play in
Right.
that where, you know. I've got
So that
some-
could bring the break even, you know, closer to $1 million if
Yeah.
the numbers don't
Right.
kind of hit as projected, so.
I respect your concerns. Are there any other concerns on numbers from any of the other committee members? Excuse me.
No, my question at this point is, Wendy, have you and them talked terms on the loan? Because I think it'll make sense for us eventually here to go into closed session, and I want to make sure the terms
Yeah.
are clear.
Yeah, it's gonna be 4% for 10 years on equipment. I should have put that in the first line, and I'll make sure that we do that.
Wendy, what's the guarantor?
We're going to be holding the building as collateral, so it'll be backed by the mortgage, and then promissory.
By the owners?
Yep,
So personal guarantee.
personal guarantee.
And then second on the building.
Then we'll probably have filing on the equipment as well, but yeah. UCC and that.
And on that 10 years, that's principal and interest paid during that whole time, or is there any period that's interest only?
No,
Okay.
this is a straight.
Got it.
Motion to return to regular order business. So, second.
Motion by Mike, second by Jim, to return to regular order of business. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I would suggest we just go into closed session real quick.
All right. Want to read the language real quick?
Jim, can you do that? Our
It's
finance
on the
guy?
page.
It should be right.
You're gonna read it, or do you want?
Right on the agenda.
It's right here.
It should be right on.
The committee may convene in closed session pursuant to sections 19.85, sub 1, sub E, Wisconsin statutes, for the purposes of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting others specified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The authority may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.85, sub 2, Wisconsin statutes, to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda.
Second.
So, okay, so I need to do roll, right? We need to roll. Okay, we're, Matt Schuler here, Mike Morley,
Here.
Brian Johnson,
Here.
Chad Van Handel,
Here.
James Bloomer.
Here?
Okay, now that we are back to regular order in session, we're going to make a motion, and Chad's going to lead us on this.
All right, appreciate the opportunity again. I'm going to make a motion to approve of a $250,000 loan, 4% interest, 10-year term and amortization with monthly principal and interest payments, secured by a first lien on the equipment, second mortgage on the building at 2475 West Mason Street in Green Bay, also secured by an unlimited personal guarantee of Jason and Lisa Campbell.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
So a motion made by Chad, second by Jim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank
you.
I'll
We're
be
excited.
one of your first customers.
You got to send us a note when you're opening.
Yeah.
That we will.
Well,
Absolutely.
We'll have to have a ribbon cutting.
Yeah, right.
Yes, yes, Congratulations. Yeah.
We appreciate the
We'll help you
faith.
out. We'll get
I know it may have been a
Okay.
stretch, but we
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah.
We're all excited.
You were more I thought I was the most optimistic guy. I'm telling you.
I want to farm for a living, and if I can get through this year, optimism is nothing.
Yeah, this has
Well,
probably been
sign-
quite a week for you.
This has been a difficult one.
Oh, yeah.
We're all set.
Just emails, or do you want to?
Yeah, what did I say
Okay.
right now? I have another loan right back to back
Yeah.
with this. If you don't mind, we just will follow up right
Yeah.
afterward. Is that all right?
That came up on our schedule.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we're-
Yes, and then see.
Yeah, well, I got
All
that
right.
part. I think I got that.
Did you get everybody's vote?
I did.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's a busy day for our loan committee today. Thank you very much. We're going to review the loan application for 4C's LLC, doing business as Tasty's Treats LLC. You may remember the Dairy Queen on Main. We participated in that loan the first time through, and now that's been paid off and settled. It was my first settlement here, which is kind of exciting. But the operations have been at this location. Chad Mindock and Courtney Carlson have been busy combining their efforts. Courtney for the last 4 years and Chad for the last 10 years have been producing and operating this business. They just are looking to now purchase it from the previous owner and get their name on the title. So Dairy Queen on Main LLC is requesting $140,000. And this is a little different. This is not our RLF. This is our funds that came from the Packer Stadium. This is an economic development RLF. So it's a little bit different to be used towards the purchase of the Dairy Queen located at 1301 Main Street. This will be a women-owned business, so it's a 51-49 split between Courtney and Chad. And so that's where it fits into this minority-owned loan that'll be coming forward. So similar to our other, it's written all the same ways except for that it has to be a minority, veteran, or women-owned or disadvantaged business is the criteria for that loan. So the staff, so they now wish to purchase this building, the property they have to help develop. They plan to grow the business by growing sales, promotional products, and adding staff. They're eager to move forward with this. The staffing, my recommendation was to request the ED RLF funds to purchase Dairy Queen business located at 1301 Main Street. We'll be attaching our funds to the mortgage purchase. So in the attachments, there is the finances, the appraisal, balance sheet, presentation from Bank of Luxembourg, and the application for 4C's LLC, doing business as Tasty Treats LLC. And with that,
Wendy, how long ago did we make the loan for the Dairy Queen the first
I
time?
don't know, but it was about 3.5, almost 4 years ago. I started here 4 years ago, and it was one of the first things that I did with the RLF was the settlement for Tasty Treats.
The settlement, so the actual loan is,
Paid and done as of 3 or 4 years ago from the previous owner.
Okay.
So that scenario was that there was a two-partner, and then the partners split, and then we came in and helped offset the funds that he had to pay for his other partner.
Okay.
And then he satisfied that, and it was my first satisfaction. So it's
Okay.
kind of fun. And here, those funds are back in, and so now they can roll forward again for the business again, which is kind of interesting that it ends up being on the same building.
got it, okay.
Okay?
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion by Mike and second by Jim to open the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Why don't you both come on up and tell us a little bit about, hey, this is, obviously you have some experience with this business, so I'd love to know a little bit about, hey, what your current roles are in the business, and then why you want to buy it, and what you're planning to do with it, and all that good stuff.
Well, my background, I have two sisters that actually, one of them had one in Manitowoc, and my other one had the one here's right now on Main and Mason. They were running it. Now she runs a restaurant, but so I have some background in that.
Okay.
And before even getting involved in the Dairy Queen, Gary Feckner had 14 stores, and what I did was I went around and did his maintenance on the machines. So I'm familiar with the Dairy Queen system. Got involved with Main and Mason, or Main Street, and that one was closed for, I think, around 60 years. Was closed from October till March. So when we got in there, I didn't like that one bit. So we keep it open all year now.
That's right, it does close in the winter.
Not for
Not
8
now,
years.
but
Yeah.
it did, right, you're right,
Yeah, the first 2 years it was a little struggle, but then after that, everybody knew.
Knew that you were still there.
And as far as my role, it was always an operator role rather than a manager role. I started doing spreadsheets, payroll, scheduling, bills. So it was always kind of that. So now we're kind of getting to the point where it's like, well, now we want to, have our name on the deed.
So the gentleman that you're buying it out of Manitowoc owns the building and the franchise, right?
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna maintain it as a Dairy Queen?
Yes,
And so that, on your financials, the Dairy Queen franchise fees are under licensing? Or are they under other deductions? I was trying to figure out where you're gonna pay for the loan, and then also pay for, where the franchise fees are on the P&L. If that makes any sense. If you go under tasty treats. So, it's just a matter of, okay, how you gonna, where's the money coming to pay it off? Is it gonna be coming from increased sales, or is there, in the current sales of 418,000?
You can jump in if you want.
Sure.
So they have their lender here as well, so Eugene
Okay.
is here.
All right, great.
Eugene from Bank of Luxembourg, I'm the commercial lender. The purchase price is $485. What we're doing, we're gonna finance $335,000. That's gonna cover the majority of the expenses and the goodwill. We're gonna secure the loan on the bank side with the real estate. Chad and Courtney are gonna pledge their residence as well, and fixed assets. We completed business valuation on the business through a local accounting firm, Keith Burnett, and we value the value posted to the purchase price. So, yeah, from our standpoint, it's secured. I know Chad's with Optimus Club, and he's been running this business, like he said, for the last 10 years. It's just a matter of putting his name on it and helping with the financing package.
So when you look at the P&L, then the rent payment, that's listed $3,000 a month, theoretically, that's your payment.
That's a payment on it.
That'll be your payment, and then, because your franchise fees are probably under that 25.3, I'm just using those last year's numbers, taxes and licenses, I'm assuming
Yeah.
that's where the franchise fee is.
And
that
my understanding of the rent, they'll keep all the funds in the company, and the rent's just gonna go just to cover the payment.
Are you guys gonna structure that where they'll own the building as
Separate LLC.
and then the business operate? Okay.
Courtney, why don't you tell us about what you've been doing in the business and kind of what your role will be going forward?
My name's Courtney, and I've been there for 4 years now. And when I first started, I was just a crew. Just walked in, and we decided together that it was time for me that we wanted to do this business together, that we wanted to have a future there, that eventually we wanted it to be ours, and that it would need both of us there. So when I first started, it was basically just a crew member. I was on the floor. From there, I moved up to trainer, and from there, I moved to cake decorator, and now I'm also operator like him. Inventory, scheduling, bills, all that, everything it would take to run the business, both of us two together. Yeah, and with the cake program, when I started doing the cakes, obviously at the beginning we didn't see much of an increase, but after a couple of months of you being there, we had doubled and sometimes even tripled the amount of cake sales per month that we were doing in the years prior.
And how did that, aside from you being, the lead on that, was it through advertising or just word of mouth, or people realized you had great cakes?
It was basically word of mouth. We didn't really advertise, but it was word of mouth.
We started venturing on, we were doing some weddings, so that was huge. That's really neat. Well, we actually did a funeral too, to be honest, but
We did
all kinds of
implement-
parties, any party.
We did implement like online cake ordering, so we do have that now. You know, that wasn't in the years prior.
Home delivering
Yep, we
cakes.
we do deliver some cakes.
Did you promote that through social media, Facebook, or?
We do have a Facebook account for the Dairy Queen. We are relatively new to that, but we are trying to implement the social media more.
Okay.
Especially for like holidays. I did use that for the cakes for the holiday sales. That did help.
All right.
One of the staff that you're going to be doing is, they're going to be increasing their staff as well to help with this decorating portion of their business. When we have to do full-time equivalence ratio of every $35,000 that we lend out, same as our other traditional loan. That the cake business is taking off for them, and that's one of the biggest places that they're going to. They're kind of landlocked in that location, and so to grow it externally with other school sales and other things like that is part of the marketing plan that we discussed earlier as well. But that's one of the noted positions that they need is cake decorators as soon as possible. So as soon as this, we encourage them to wait till after the loan to start their hiring process. So.
Any other questions? Chad, did you have?
Nope.
For purpose of moving on and further discussion, I would make a motion to approve the loan as request as presented. It's a higher risk in the sense, but it's offset by the fact that these two individuals have been in the trenches for so long at that location, and it's an ongoing business.
I have one thing to add to the loan committee on this one. Our new loan, we haven't had a chance to get it all approved yet, so we're a little bit the horse before the cart. So we had the application come, and I haven't had it go through the EDA. So we'll be going through the EDA and Economic Development Authority for final approval of all the guidelines of that. One of the guidelines that was set up on our acquisition where we asked for the funds from the excess tax was that they had a cap of $100,000. The loan committee can decide to go over. This request is for $140,000. We have $200,000 in our fund. And for the loan committee to weigh in on that to see if we'd like to raise that cap for this particular instance. Okay?
Okay.
And then we'll get all the approvals in place, but the loan just happened to come through, and we had this other loan, so put all the meetings together in the convenience of time.
And what's the proposed rate on this?
This is 4% as well, and on a property, it will be going out 15 years. So it's 140, 4% for 15 years.
Principal and interest from the beginning.
They're an operating business in full swing.
Okay, so we need to how much of the initial motion do we need to revise based on the approval of EDA?
I would say that we have all of the approval or guideline approved by the EDA, that it meets all the guidelines approved by the EDA.
So the motion would read to approve the loan of $140,000 for 15-year amortization at 4%. Correct?
Yep.
That's our rate. I would further add that the first 6 months we would do interest only.
Okay.
And upon approval of proper guidelines established by EDA.
So that is a contingency then, assuming EDA approves.
Yep, we're meeting on August, or September 12th, I think is the day.
Okay, I'll
I think they're
second.
moving that day because of Wednesday, Ryan, but this month, in September, that will meet, and that will be an agenda item.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
So we've got a motion by Mike and a second by Jim. All those in favor, oh, right, we'll do this electronically.
Like she's looking over her shoulder.
Oh, look at
I'm
this.
glad she's got this.
And have save. How do we do, miss?
Motion has been approved.
All right. Motion has
Did
been
we do it?
approved. Congratulations. And good luck.
Good luck.
Welcome to the business now of
Yeah.
owning instead of just operating. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
Just a quick point of order,
We'll be-
we failed to return to regular business.
Yeah.
We didn't go to close.
No,
Oh.
but
After
that's
they,
all right. They were fine.
That's okay.
Just,
I think, okay, and then we'll just have to, and then, do you mind if I just step up, Todd?
Okay, I think then we can go to the last item on the agenda, which would be adjourning for the day. Does anybody have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Chad. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
We'll make sure that you get,
We did pretty good on the rules. We did okay?
you want our
You
list.
did great.
Okay.
like, I